This tournament began with a field of 28 nations, but in the short history of the World Baseball Classic, only one has known the feeling of holding this hardware. Japan is bidding to three-peat against the most competitive collection of challengers yet. Over the next 3 weeks, there will be power, and there will be passion. International stars will be introduced, while baseball's famous faces fight to avoid farewell. That much we know, but the outcomes are far less certain. Baseball's World Championship starts now. Set to play 39 games in 18 days, and it all begins with Australia and Chinese Taipei. And this is Pool B, with 4 teams currently ranked in the top 10 in the world. They will play a round robin with the top 2 advancing to round 2. And so good evening to our audience back in the United States, and good afternoon from Taiwan with Joe McGrain. I'm JB Long. And Joe, you and I have been talking this week about this city and this venue, and especially these 4 teams. We may have the most intriguing pool in the entire World Baseball Classic.
Well, I think you're right. I think you would first say that Korea is favorite, but you can't discount the success of the other 3 teams. You have the silver medal that Australia has won in the Olympics in Athens, and of course the Netherlands having that huge upset against the Dominicans the last time we did this, and Chinese Taipei is going to have a guy on the hill who is the best guy to ever come out of this country.
And so let's introduce our host, Chinese Taipei, and they advanced to this main draw by qualifying with 3 wins by a combined score of 35-0. They are mostly homegrown, but speaking of Chien-Ming Wang, they've gone out and acquired some major league caliber pitching to fortify their staff.
Well, Chien-Ming Wang is not going to be the guy that won 19 games twice with the New York Yankees, but he is pretty darn close to it. He has an amazing ability to really manage the game. He still has that great sinker, and of course, there are in a pitch count. He knows how to get outs early in the count.
He will face a left-handed heavy Australia lineup. They are the lowest ranked team here, but I tell you what, they have a quiet confidence about them. A lot of major league experience and a lot of major league players trying to rise through the ranks with their organizations currently.
You know, as you saw the movie Rudy, it kind of reminds you a little bit of Team Australia because they do really embrace that team concept. John Diebel has really talked about preaching pitching and defense. It's something that they execute very well. They are going to go as far as their pitching and defense take them. So you're looking at a young team with an old school approach. I can't wait to see this one.
Well, I was here in November in Taiwan and had the privilege of seeing this very home favorable crowd for Chinese Taipei. It is once again expected to be sold out. The Thunder Sticks will be here. They will be loud and they will be proud as we get set to start the 2013 World Baseball Classic from Taichung, next on MLB Network. Back to Taiwan as we are set to begin the 2013 World Baseball Classic in front of a sellout crowd here in Taichung. Action beginning in Pool B, featuring 4 teams ranked in the top 10 in the world. With Joe McGrain, I'm JB Long. Let's introduce the starting lineup for Australia. And they will face Chien-Ming Wang, the righty, for Chinese Taipei. James Beresford plays shortstop and leads off. Mitch Denyon will play center field, followed by Luke Hughes and Stephen Welch in the cleanup spot. Then Justin Huber, Mike Walker, Brad Harmon, Chris Snelling, and Matt Kennelly will handle the catching duties. And on the hill, a familiar face, especially to our Major League Baseball audience, and to you, Joe McGrain, as well.
This is a guy who historically throws a very heavy sinker and has the ability to get ground ball outs early in the count. And of course, that's very important in a tournament such as this, as the pitch counts are limited. And that was really the strength, the 2-time 19-game winner for the Yankees for Chien-Ming Wang. his ability to really pound that sinker down in the strike zone and really go deeper into games with lower pitch counts.
His Chinese Taipei coaching staff has a lot of respect for the defense of Australia, but they think their own can hold their own. Zhou Siqi will play left field, Lin Zhixuan in center, Yang Daigong in right field, and then left to right across your infield, Chen Yongji. Lin Zhisheng at shortstop, Guo Yanwen plays second base, and power-hitting Peng Jung-min down at first base. Gao Zhigong is behind the dish, handling Chin Ming Wang. And once again, in keeping with local tradition and culture, we will use the family name first for Chinese Taipei and also for the South Koreans when we see them later this evening. Here is Chin Ming Wang with the first pitch of the 2013 World Baseball Classic.
Boy, and he'd like a bunch more of those because that was perfectly located down and away with the traditional sink that Wang is accustomed to having when he is on top of his game.
Beresford takes a ball outside. He's been with the Twins organization since signing as a free agent in 2005 at the age of 16. Into the left center field gap, Zhou Siqi over and has out number one.
Thing you'll notice about the delivery from Wang, it looks exactly like it did when he was wearing the pinstripes in the Bronx, a long pause over the top of the rubber, and once he gets his delivery going, it becomes very traditional. Does a great job of getting that arm out in front. He's had a lot of injuries, once trying to cover first base, a foot injury, and of course a shoulder injury as well. And as many pressure-packed games as he's pitched, not only in Yankee Stadium, pitching for his country would be just as much here today.
Mitch Denning takes ball one, former member of the Red Sox system from 2007 to 2011, 25 years old. Again, a fly ball to left. Zhou Siqi with some early work, and we can see the impact of the wind that's blowing from his back and towards the first base line.
And this ballpark, and especially on days like this and into the night, is not going to carry very well. The air is very heavy, and going into the teeth of the wind, Wang, knowing how to use the strength of pitching around the ballpark, is going to be able to accentuate that. We've seen nothing but sinkers out of him so far, and there's no reason for him to do anything different.
How about the impact of someone like Chin Ming Wang settling in this Chinese Taipei roster that had a full head of steam coming out of qualifying, but this environment, the atmosphere, can ratchet it up a few notches.
It is the perfect guy for Chinese Taipei to have on the hill, based on his experience, based on his ability to calm his nerves, and in essence, pretty much do that to the rest of the team who are playing here at home in this first game.
Luke Hughes to shortstop. Lin Zhisheng got his man at first. Hughes can't believe it, but it's a 1-2-3 inning for Chin Ming Wang. Australia nothing, Chinese Taipei coming to bat. After a 7-pitch top half of the first inning for Chin Ming Wang and Chinese Taipei, here is their starting batting order, and it looks very familiar to the one that we saw dominate in November qualifying in New Taipei City. Yang Daigong will lead off and play right field. Lin Zhishuen in center field. Peng Jung-min, the power-hitting first baseman, bats third, followed by Lin Zhisheng at shortstop. Here's the rest of the Chinese Taipei lineup. As we move on, they will face Chris Oxspring, the righty, 35 years old for Australia. First pitch swinging, those aggressive bats of Chinese Taipei have the first hit of the World Baseball Classic.
Let's taking a look at Chris Oxspring, and he's an experienced pitcher, 35 years of age. Fastball can still get up into the 90s. Really has a good idea of managing the game. Curveball, changeup, really knows how to change speeds very well. And we talked about the pitch counts of these starting pitchers. So what you will see these hitters, I think, doing is attacking early in the strike zone, because the pitcher is going to be doing exactly the same thing. He's going to try to get strike one, which is the best pitch for the guy on the hill.
Here's one of the additions to the Chinese Taipei roster since we saw them in November. Lin Jishuen puts down a bunt, and the sacrifice successful. Zhang Daigang moves down to second base with 1 out. Stephen Welch making the play there for Australia. Let's meet the rest of the Aussie defense. Luke Hughes, who was retired to end the top half of the first inning in left field. Denning in center, Snelling in right. Welch, Beresford, Harmon, and Walker left to right across your infield, and Matt Kennelly handles the catching duties for Ox Spring. Here is Peng Jung Min, the first baseman, 34 years old. The team captains.
And with the 5 batting titles in the Taiwanese Baseball League, you'll see him be pounded inside, but he won't swing at that until he gets to 2 strikes. He is from the right side of second base over, and there aren't too many people that have won batting titles that have not had the ability to not only hit with 2 strikes, JB, but to also hit to the opposite side of the field. He'll wait till he gets 2 strikes before he's even thinking about offering at pitches on the inside corner.
Interesting matchup with the 35-year-old Chris Oxspring, who we're told is throwing better than ever. 2 veterans of international baseball. And that's through into right field for a base hit. Zhang Daigang rounds third, and he will score easily as it's bobbled by Snelling. Chinese Taipei has the first run of the WBC.
Just what we were talking about, a little opposite field hitting. He lets the ball get back, lets it travel, gets deep to where he is able to keep the hands back. A lot of these Asian hitters will get out on the front foot early, but Peng's hands stay back, and with that lead at second, the second baseman leaving a lot of room for a guy who loves to hit to that side of the field. And it's a pretty good commercial as to how I think this is going to go very early in these ball games. Trying to get on the board first, and Chinese Taipei doing that by setting it up with a sacrifice.
Really allows you to set your strategy for the rest of the game, and also if you can get a win here in the opening doubleheader for the rest of the extended weekend. Lin Jishuen digs in, a cleanup hitter. Had a monster November qualifier, going 5 for 11 in 3 games at the plate. Tried to check his swing there, but he went around. So Lance Barksdale down there at first base, part of our umpiring crew.
And at the top of the first, he's already 0 for 1 with that play at the first
You thought he
plate.
missed that one, huh?
Yep. Major league umpire who struggles on the bases overseas as well.
Mentioned that it's only a 7-pitch first inning for Chin Ming Wong, and since we're under pitch count restrictions here in the World Baseball Classic, all pitchers limited to 65 tosses here in the first round. Those add up. Those calls make big difference in terms of coaching strategies and starting pitchers, especially being able to go deep.
Really is about controlling the outs, and one thing that John Diebel preached to us, which of course is nothing new about playing fundamental baseball, 27 outs, not allowing extra outs.
Lin Jishuen at the plate. His experience with the national team dates back to 1997 as a junior. It's a called strike 3 for out number 2.
And the other thing about controlling the count with this limited amount of pitches is you're not going to try to go 3-2. You throw your put away pitch 2-2, and that's what he does. Oxspring's backing up that breaking ball a little bit, catches the inside corner, and completely locks up Lin.
So with a runner at first in the first, already 1 across for Chinese Taipei. Here's Zhou Siqi, 27 years old, and the reigning MVP and Silver Slugger of the CPBL here in Taiwan. Oxspring misses with his first offering.
The other thing that Oxspring has the ability to do is you would be throwing that ball more towards the middle of the plate, wanting to get strike one, is change speeds on the fastball, because those guys are going to be hacking. So you want to have a little variance of speed on that fastball.
Right side, Harmon has it. And gets to Chi at first, but not before Chinese Taipei gets on the board. A leadoff hit by Yang Daigong, driven across by Peng Jung-min.
Top of the second for the Aussies. You go to the top of the first, the last play in the top of the first. Lance Barksdale over at first base. Luke Hughes clearly beating out with that double clutch throw over to first base. Clearly beating the play out. He's by the bag before the ball is in the first baseman's glove. So already the Aussies have had a call go against him.
Saw Peng selling it down there at first base. He picked up the RBI in the home half. So Chien-Ming Wang with just his 8th pitch of the game here and working with a 1-0 lead.
That first inning was exactly the way Wang wanted it to go. Very economical with his pitches, and with that sinker, he has the ability to challenge these Aussie hitters in the middle of the plate, knowing that it's not going to end up there. I think when he was at his best and seeing him throw at the height of his powers, winning back-to-back, or winning 19 games in back-to-back seasons, he was starting that sinker right in the middle of the plate, and it was ending up low and away, and it was a bowling ball, like trying to hit it.
Strike on Stephen Welch, the 24-year-old. He's in the Pittsburgh Pirates organization. Split his 2012 season between the FSL in Florida and the Eastern League. Hit .266 with 13 home runs. Had another long shot in the Aussies' exhibition run-up to this event.
Aussies typically do not have a lot of power in their lineup, but we talked right off the top about John Diebel preaching team. They have the ability to string at-bats together. It's what they're going to have to do against a pitcher that is very experienced, and especially experienced at getting strike one.
Goes after the 3-1 pitch, and the count runs full 3-2. Welch making his second WBC appearance, and he awaits the payoff pitch from Chien-Ming Wang. Yang Daigong going back just at the track, pulls up and had it measured well.
It's one of the dynamics of this ballpark, and we talked about it earlier that the air can get heavy. It does not carry very well if there is like a sweet spot. Although the wind is blowing directly in from center field, it does carry better to right field than it does to any other part of the park.
One of the advantages that the Australia lineup will have, running a lot of left-handed batters up there. But here's a righty in the designated hitter, Justin Huber. Member of the Melbourne Aces in the Australian Baseball League for the past 3 winters. Huber, one of a handful of players making his 3rd WBC appearance, 2 for 19 in his World Baseball Classic career.
And you see with Chien-Ming Wang, it is one sinker after the other. Obviously his best pitch and still his go-to pitch, even though he doesn't light up the gun like he used to.
He's known for being a ground ball pitcher, as you've pointed out. 72.2% of his major league career outs recorded on the ground. We've seen a few Australian hitters get the ball lifted, however.
Well, and as your velocity and as you age, as that velocity goes down, that is really the way that you have to pitch. You have to be able to be below the bat, and you have to be able to sink the ball, and he has the type of stuff that ages well.
Slice to right. Daigong dives for it, but could not come away. Huber aboard, the first for Australia, with 1 out in the second.
First breaking ball we've seen Wang throw, and Huber just kind of shoves it into right field. It's kind of an interesting pitch selection because the previous pitch was a sinker that he was late that hit over the Aussie's first base dugout, and he comes back with the breaking ball, and oftentimes you kind of kick yourself in that pitch selection.
So Xie Chongheng, the manager for Chinese Taipei, making his second World Baseball Classic appearance, also in 2006 with his federation team. First pitch swinging is Mike Walker. To second for one, relay in time. And on one pitch, Chien-Ming Wang gets a 6-4-3 to end the Aussies' second and protect a 1-0 advantage. Chinese Taipei with a run in there first and coming to bat in the second. Let's meet our umpiring crew. Joe McGrain came all the way to Taiwan to be reunited with Lance Barksdale. He's joined today at home plate by Kenjiro Mori. Here's Barksdale down at first. Greg Gibson is at second base. Cesar Valdez down at third.
Greg Gibson, another longtime Major League umpire.
6, 7, 8 for Chinese Taipei. Chen Yongji, the third baseman, tried to check his swing on the first offering from Chris Oxspring. What'd you see from the Australian righty in his first inning of work?
I think he looked pretty good. I think his game plan is pretty much the same. He's not a guy that's going to be overpowering. You know, we talked to John Diebel, the manager of Australia, and said that he was throwing 92 to 94 miles an hour. I've yet to see that, but he's been spinning the ball.
Again off speed. Great play at shortstop. James Beresford ranging to get Chen Yongji.
Boy, something the Aussies really pride themselves in, the ability to play defense, and great range by Beresford going to his left, even with the 360 pirouette. Just a nifty, nifty move with that great awareness. Was the first baseman's foot on the bag? Tough to tell from that vantage point, but hard to take a great play away from Beresford.
Now Lin Yichuan. First pitch hacking. Picked up 3 hits in the November qualifier to help Chinese Taipei advance to the main draw here. All 3 were doubles. He drove in 5 runs as well.
Yeah, we're going to see the contrast of Chien-Ming Wang and Chris Oxspring, and Wang pretty much exclusively with the sinker, and Oxspring having to mix it up a little bit, but a strike thrower with all of his pitches.
Another ground ball here. Easy play at second for Brad Harmon. 2 up, 2 down in the Chinese Taipei second. Oxspring played 7 minor league seasons in the States with the Padres, Brewers, and Tigers organizations. Made 5 major league appearances with the Padres as well back in 2005.
He's part of that silver medalist team in Athens all the way back in 2004, so he does have a tremendous amount of international experience.
Jumps ahead 0-1.
That was the best fastball he's thrown yet. That was firm.
Now Zhi Gong, the 32-year-old veteran catcher for Chinese Taipei, fouls one back to the screen.
You know, oftentimes as you look how Oxspring takes the ball out of the glove, it's kind of up and out, almost in the same delivery that a catcher has. And a guy who throws like that, the ball appears to the hitter, although not so much velocity-wise, but appears to the hitter like it gets on them a little quicker.
Try to go upstairs on 0-2. Top shelf only in the Chinese Taipei dugout. You can hear the thunder sticks taking their full effect here in Taiwan. The home crowd silent when their pitcher is at work, but when they are at the dish, it's nonstop action.
Has to be a great thrill for them to see their team right out of the gate. Game 1, a sellout. I think when you're imagining the World Baseball Classic in its infancy, this is kind of what you were looking for, this type of environment.
Sixth pitch of the at-bat. This is low and away, and it's full.
I think you tend to be mindful as a pitcher when you get to the bottom half of the order. The reason these guys are hitting at the bottom of the order is for a reason. So you want to be even more aggressive in the strike zone. So that's more of the frustrating part of going into deep counts, with the number 8 hitter.
Gouger Gong goes with that pitch and picks up a 2-strike hit. Chinese Taipei catcher aboard with 2 outs in the second.
It's a pretty good commercial as to the type of style that the Taiwanese hitters employ. As a little cut fastball slider, kind of a get me over type pitch, but they like to get out on their front foot early and just kind of apply the bat to the ball and just pop it the other way and not trying to do too much. You try to pull that pitch and it's a ground ball to the shortstop.
It brings the 9-hitter to the plate here in the second inning. Guo Yanwen, 24 years old. Heading the count 1-0. Had a nice November qualifier with 3 hits, including a double, couple RBIs. This is his second World Baseball Classic, also an Olympian in 2008. Hard hit to center field, but well positioned. And there to make the grab is Mitch Denning. So a hit, but that's it in the second for Chinese Taipei. They lead it 1-0 after 2. Settling into our environment here in Taiwan for the World Baseball Classic. Currently 54 degrees. The wind blowing in from left field and pretty hard as well at 25 miles per hour. But some morning showers have given way to decent baseball weather. With Joe McGrain, I'm JB Long. We look at the field dimensions here at Intercontinental Baseball Stadium. 325 down the lines, 400 to straightaway center. Of course, I say we're settling in and getting acclimated, but from the moment I saw Joe McGrain here in Taichung, he looked right at home. Had already made a few friends, was giving directions, had a restaurant recommendation waiting for me. Thank you for that. Made me feel right at home.
I think I got to thank Anthony Bourdain for that.
We've done well on the culinary front so far, but happy to pick up the baseball here on a Saturday afternoon. The first of 2 games, Australia and Chinese Taipei, getting Pool B play underway, as well as the main draw of the 2013 World Baseball Classic. It's 7-8-9 in the Australia lineup against Chin-Ming Wong, who needed just 18 pitches to get through his first 2 frames.
What might be a good idea, because he's really settling in, he's being as typical economical with pitching, is try a little small ball if you're the Aussies. Drop a bunt, get him off the mound. That's probably the easiest way to affect a pitcher's rhythm as he has started to really settle in, get a little more consistent in with each pitch with that release point. Drop a bunt, push a bunt, get him off the hill, and you see very economical with his pitches.
There's a 1-2 count on Brad Harmon, a member of the Melbourne Aces, the Australian Baseball League. Harmon goes down swinging. First strikeout for Chin-Ming Wong to begin the 3rd inning.
That was a great example of not trying to be too perfect. You see the target right on the outside part of the plate. He starts it there, knows it's not going to end up there, still gets the strikeout. It ends up in the middle of the plate for the most part, but that is the Chin-Ming Wong sinker of old right there.
Face the 8-hitter in the Australia lineup, Chris Snelling, Florida native, but went to high school in Australia. Former major leaguer, played for the Mariners, the Nationals, the A's, and the Phillies. But it's interesting, the coaching staff, including John Diebel, described Snelling as willing to run through a brick wall. That's how he got to the show, and that's also unfortunately what made his stint there relatively short.
Plays with, as they like to say in football, with a great motor, with the hammer down at all times. Very intense player. He is always on.
Someone in that managers meeting mentioned that he looks like he's 100 years old, even though he's just 31. I'm not going to name any names, but
why not?
Thought it was an interesting description of the right fielder for the Aussies. we get to 100 and we're looking like that, Joe, we're doing all right for ourselves, I think.
Yeah, I think it's the beard carrying the wisdom with what their pitching coach Phil Dale was referring to. Oh, that's right. That's supposed to name it.
I wasn't going to, but you're more than welcome to call out whomever. 2-1 offering from Wong.
You know, in meeting with both of these clubs as we met with the other two, Netherlands and Korea, we had just a great deal of fun and chatting with them, how accessible they were and talking about their teams, and through the interpreter with Chinese Taipei and talking with their manager. Just a delightful guy.
Wong brings the 2-2. Got to bust him inside, couldn't find a spot. And so the count runs full on Chris Snelling. Snelling, one of just 2 players on the roster who was not born in Australia. I mentioned he did do his schooling there. Stays alive. We'll redo 3-2.
It's easy for Wong when he gets into these later counts and even behind in the count, because if you have the ability to sink the ball, it's a great pitch in a hitter's count. It's a great pitch when you're ahead in the count, because he has shown such the proficiency of racking up ground balls.
Again, the 3-2. Slammed down the right field line, and that's in for a hit. Chris Snelling hobbling down to first base, and he's going to settle for 1, and we'll see if he's able to remain in the game.
You know, the one thing in talking with John Diebel, he did say a lot of his guys are banged up, and you know, we've already told you about Snelling, who has been battling some leg injuries, and that was an issue right out of the box. And if you might get a look at that left leg, you could see that that was heavily taped around the hamstring.
So Chin-Min Wong waits the pinch runner. It's Corey Adamson. He takes over at first for Snelling with 1 out, and the 9-hitter Matt Kennelly due. Saw Wong work out of the stretch briefly in the 2nd inning. The runner at first, he got a 6-4-3 double play to immediately end that frame. In front of the Aussie catcher here. Kennelly making his WBC debut. Sharply to short, backhanded by Jershung. The relay to first, and in back-to-back innings, Chin-Min Wong gets a double play to get out of it. A hit for Australia, but Wong escapes once again. Double play.
Bottom of 3, Chinese Taipei coming to the plate, and talk about helping out Chin-Min Wong. A beautifully turned double play, lean to Guo to Peng, and look how far the shortstop is off the bag, coming through the bag when he makes the play. Lean to Guo to Peng, not quite tinkers to Evers to Chance, but pretty good.
We talked to Chinese Taipei yesterday, and they said they had a lot of respect for this vaunted Australian defense, but they wanted to make very clear that they had a lot of confidence in their own defensive 9 as well.
Looking at that play, that's a pretty good selling point.
So to the top of their order as we begin the bottom of the 3rd. First time through for Chinese Taipei. A couple of hits, make that 3 and a run. On the 3rd base, Stephen Welch across the diamond for the first out. Invite you to gear up for the 2013 World Baseball Classic at the online shop of WBC. Browse the largest online selection of the official World Baseball Classic merchandise, including jerseys, caps, t-shirts, authentic collectibles, and more. Don't wait in line. Just visit worldbaseballclassic.com on your computer, tablet, or smartphone and get your WBC gear straight from the source. That's worldbaseballclassic.com to shop. Two-hitter, Lin Just-Schwen, softly in the center field, and he's aboard with one out.
We were talking earlier about the Taiwanese hitters liking to get the front foot down early, front foot down type hitting, and staying inside the ball, working more towards the middle of the field. You watch this pitch kind of really just run down and in and just pulling the hands in to get the barrel on the ball and almost back spinning it with a little bit of slice action right up the middle.
So there the Australian bullpen starting to stretch out a little bit. Pan across right field where it's mentioning that Corey Adamson has stayed in the game defensively after taking over at first base for Chris Snelling, who left with an injury. Adamson in right. Figure out how to use those sunglasses on an overcast gray day here in Taichung, Taiwan. Already 4 hits for Chinese Taipei and a run against Chris Oxspring, and looking for more in the heart of their order, Peng Jung-min. Takes a called strike. Sean Ruzick getting going for Australia. Expected to see him second in this Australian rotation. Peng Jung-min, fastest player in CPBL history to 1,000 hits. Career average just under 350.
Like I said, the first time he was up at the plate, he is looking to the middle of the plate to the outer half until he gets to 2 strikes. He will spin away from those type of pitches even if they're on the plate, and many times with the reputation that he's earned with the 5 batting titles, by corkscrewing away from the ball on the inside corner, he'll get the call.
This game and looking for more here in the bottom of the 3rd.
You see that pitch? That's more towards the inner third of the plate, and he still has the idea of thinking about the other way, but does not like hitting the ball on the inner third of the plate. I think Oxspring obviously does not want to go 3-2. With Lin maybe running here in this situation, and a guy who can very easily hit the ball to the right side of the plate, trying to punch the ball inside.
With his lead down at first, and the count runs full on Peng Jung-min.
So those pitches aren't even close on the inner part of the strike zone, although that ball was a little up and off, and he is still backing away to make it look like it's not even close to being a strike. Kind of in the way that Frank Thomas used to jackknife away from pitches on the inside part of the plate, an area where he didn't like.
Long pause at the set from Oxspring. Let me ask you, as a pitcher, when you saw that from a hitter, did it have any impact on you? Any adjustment that you would make?
Well, one thing you want to do is you want to have the ability to make that pitch, because you're throwing it into an area that a hitter does not like it. But if you make the mistake of leaving it more towards the middle of the plate, that's where you really end up getting burned. So you have to be very precise when making that pitch.
Runner going with that 3-2. No call from home plate. The throw down to second, not in time, and it wouldn't have mattered anyways. That's ball 4 to Peng.
Let's take a look at that pitch, 3-2 pitch with the runner going. Catcher setting up outside, and from our angle, I don't know if it was low, but it looked like it did have part of the plate.
You can see Oxspring shaking his head there. I was with him. I kept waiting for the home plate umpire to raise that arm and ring up the 3-hitter for Chinese Taipei. Instead, 1 out and 2 aboard. Lin Jisheng.
Those 5 batting titles in the Taiwan Baseball League sometimes earn you a reputation of that if you take it, those close pitches, it's a ball.
First walk issued by either pitcher here in the first game of the 2013 World Baseball Classic's main draw. And with 2 runners aboard, the crowd here, Intercontinental Baseball Stadium, cranks it up a few notches. Ground on that one.
Yeah, I think it was one of those situations where he's thinking, I'm going to pick a pitch to just go crazy and just take a wild swing and try to go for that 3-run home run. Got a little over anxious, pitch outside the strike zone, couldn't check.
Clean up hitting shortstop awaits. His knees out of the way of that one. It's an hitter's count. Close eye on that 1-1 offering, don't you? And it dictates the course of the bats.
Great point, absolutely great point. There's a huge difference between 2-1 and 1-2, and you've got to be thinking as a pitcher in 1-1 counts, you've got to get back to the strike zone.
A laser to left. Hughes over. That's into the corner and hops over the wall. And for Chris Oxbreen in Australia, that's fortunate. It keeps Lin Jisheng to an RBI double, and it stops Peng Jung-min at third.
Goes right to the point we were talking about, JB. You get into a hitter's count. It allows Lin to really free himself up and start thinking for the heater. And he picked a pitch to turn on it and just scalded to left. Just barely catches the top of the wall and goes over. If it doesn't, another run scores.
RBI from the 3-hitter in Chinese Taipei's order in the first. Now a run driven in by the cleanup man in the third. 2 in scoring position for Zhou Siqi. Ground ball out his first time through, and the infield for Australia drawn in. Go back to November and include qualifying. Chinese Taipei now playing in their home country in this 2013 WBC. A combined score 37-0. How about that, Joe McGrain?
Well, that says they're doing a lot of things well. Joe up at the plate with 21 home runs, has some serious pop, and we said the hot spot in this field is to right field. Oxspring has gotten a couple of pitches up.
Goes after the 1-1, falls behind in the count.
Another pitch that he got away with, that was more in the middle of the plate.
What do you want out of Oxspring here at what could be a pivotal point in keeping his team in this game?
Well, you get to this point, you're thinking something that is really down and away to coax the strikeout, or something weakly hit to the left side that's going to prevent the runner from third, with the runners or the defenders from short and third being in shallow, trying to take that run away.
Weak offering there by Zhou Siqi, but stays alive on 1-2. In those tomorrow. See those hats, the Lion hats?
I'm good with that, most definitely.
You want a large or an XL?
It's going to have to be an XL, I think.
I'll see if they're fitted. They may have fitted. Zhou Siqi led November qualifying with 6 walks. A very patient hitter with the base open. Because there's 2 in scoring position, don't expect him to chase.
Well, he spun the breaking ball on the inside part of the plate, and again, he's looking for something weakly on the ground, either a beautifully located fastball down and away, or something coming back in.
Softly to first base, diving play by Walker, gets back to the bag, breaking from third to score, Peng Jung-min.
Well, a little bit of indecision by Walker. He comes up with the play and gives a quick check, but he is in that no man's land where he thinks that he's going to have to hustle over there if he's going to get the out at first base, and in the process the run ends up scoring. It was really a real in-between situation. You're thinking about staying out of the big inning because of the finality of this type of game and the pitch count. Very difficult play.
Now visit here from John Diebel, managing Australia in his third WBC. Pitcher Oxspring at 46 pitches on the overall count, and he will take the ball. We'll break with him. Chinese Taipei with a 3-0 advantage and a runner aboard here in the third. .31-year-old Deshaun Ruzick takes over on the hill for Australia. He inherits a runner at second base. That's Lin Zhisheng. With 2 outs here in the third. At the plate for Chinese Taipei. Ground ball to shortstop his first time through.
You see how Ruzick could give a right-handed hitter an uncomfortable at bat. 6'6", 246 pounds, and really swings it around. The nice side wheeling action. That hitter's front shoulder and front hip tending to want to bail or clear with that type of delivery, and really one of the type of deliveries that takes you know, a couple of pitches of really getting used to.
Pitching coach Phil Dale told us looks like he's coming from shortstop. I'm sure to a hitter, especially on the right side of the plate, you can see what he means.
Also watching his head too. There's a portion of it in his delivery where he's not even looking at the plate. He's glancing off somewhere into the third row.
He takes a called strike. He reached AAA as a middle infielder playing in the A's and Pirates system. Looking to build on a 3-0 advantage for the home side here. Instead takes his walk and will leave it for Lin Yichuan. Inning started innocently enough for Chris Oxspring in Australia. Lead off 5-3, but then a single, a walk, an RBI double, an RBI ground ball to first, and now the walk to keep the frame alive for the number 7 hitter.
Boy, Ruzick is absolutely slinging it.
Making his WBC debut, but he does have 3 World Cups worth of experience, and plucks that one out of the air with his bare hand.
And large hands as well.
He does his job out of the bullpen to keep Chinese Taipei to just a 3-0 advantage on the strength of 5 hits. Despite allowing 2 hits, Chien-Ming Wang has allowed the minimum, faced the minimum through 3. As we go to the 4th inning, he'll face 1, 2, 3 in the Australia lineup. James Barraford, Mitch Denning, Luke Hughes.
Look at that pitch count, just 31 pitches. The major league average per inning is about 15.5 pitches per inning. And right now, Chien-Ming Wang is right around 10 pitches per inning, which is outstanding, and what you would expect him to do with that good sinker, challenging hitters in the middle of the plate with it.
Joe, you know, he had a challenging 2012 with the Nationals, battling some health issues. Only 10 appearances, 5 starts, ERA north of 6, but I would think he's using this as once again an audition to find a new home in the major leagues.
Well, there are several scouts here watching this pool here. Did a couple of them, most notably Jim Coburn, longtime major league pitcher, currently a scout with the Rangers, and he's here today, and obviously has to be very impressed as to how Wang is throwing, because this looks like the Chien-Ming Wang of old.
defending his position as well. Knocks down that liner off the bat of Beresford and has the first out of the fourth.
The thing I look at is not so much the velocity, but the action on the pitch and his ability to generate ground balls. That ball just going down and away, and it really was not hit that hard. You know, sometimes you can throw a changeup and a hitter can hit a changeup back to you. You think it's hit harder. That ball was off the end of the bat, so it was not hit as hard as it looked, which is why Wong was able to adjust to it and make the play.
I thought you made an interesting point talking about the injuries that he's experienced. You know, it's not just a matter of getting back to 100% physically. Then you have to rebuild all those biomechanics to get your motion in order, not to mention your mind.
Yeah, just a lot of that muscle memory was really missing, and everything was just out of whack. The timing was off. The release point was not consistent. It looks much better now to where the ball's consistently coming out in the same spot.
See how shallow Joseph Chi was playing Mitch Denning there with about a 25-mile-per-hour wind at his back, knocking down anything to left field.
Yeah, and Wong's mindset when he was with the Yankees and winning 19 games in back-to-back years was that I'm just going to keep the ball down and sink the ball, knowing that I've got the Bronx Bombers behind me. They're going to put points on the board and try to get my team off the field as quickly as possible. He's doing that for his country today.
And one thing that hasn't changed, that understated, very calm manner on the mound. You can take the name off his back, the number, you recognize him instantly, wouldn't you?
Yep, and the way that he walks, the rhythm, just the way that he goes about his business, and that delivery just is probably about as unique as anything in Major League Baseball. He and Daisuke seemingly just would pause over the rubber forever.
Dribbler down the third base line, got off the hill well there to end another scoreless frame. 7-pitch inning for Chien-Ming Wang. Everything the World Baseball Classic's supposed to be here in Taiwan. A capacity crowd at Intercontinental Baseball Stadium. They've been rewarded as the home side has jumped out to a 3-0 advantage.
We've already got the wave organized. We've seen this a couple of times already. Everybody's having a great time.
Just like you and I used to see it at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, right? 8-9-1 due up for Chinese Taipei. Now Zhigong, the catcher, had a single back in the second inning. Slices one into right field, and a charging Corey Adamson makes the play. Adamson, a substitution for Chris Snelling, who was in the starting lineup but had to leave with a leg injury. Facing the 9-hitter Guo Yanwen. Ruzic was with the Marlins system in 2005, the Reds for a bit in 2007. Also has experience in the Italian League, the Australian League.
That's called having been around.
With the unique angle that he delivers from, you can see why teams would take a chance on him.
Facing the number 9 hitter. First 2 hitters were breaking balls. That is a bit unusual.
Whips in a strike there at 77 miles per hour. Called strike 2 to run the count full. East Taipei picked up a tally in their first, 2 more in the third. The solid pitching of Chien-Ming Wang, and also some helpful defense, turning a couple inning-ending double plays. They've been able to protect this advantage. One out in the fourth, the 9-hitter gets aboard.
Well, when you're thinking 3-1, you're thinking it's more of an offensive position, and watch how Guo just goes out and covers this little cut fastball. I mean, just talk about going out and getting it and serving it right into center field. Beautiful.
6th hit for Chinese Taipei. They've had at least one in every frame. And they turn the lineup over here with Yang Dai-gong, 1 for 2 with a single and a run scored. Saw the check down to first there, Joe. I think the feeling that we got from a lot of these coaching staffs is that it's a pretty strong pool in terms of catching arms.
Catching arms,
restricting the running on pass.
Absolutely, they do throw very well, and you know, sometimes it takes one attempt and one good throw to really have a manager shut it down for the rest of the game. Oftentimes that first throw you make on a stolen base attempt, when it's a real good one, it can really affect the mindset of the opposing manager.
Check swing down to first. That's foul. Just to finish that thought, the other challenging part as a base stealer, an event like this, lack of familiarity with some of the opponents and their moves, and then just when you feel like you might have a read on a guy, who knows, maybe he hits his pitch count and they change up on the hill. Once again, some action in the pen. Warwick Saupold in position to be the third arm to take the mound for Australia. Hitters in Chinese Taipei's order all have hits in the 4th inning. That one well wide, the catcher Kennelly. Yen Wen down to second base, where he'll stand with 1 out.
You know, when you see a pitcher like Ruzic and look at his delivery with a lot of east-west, that's where you're going to see the misses. There are going to be misses on a horizontal basis, not so much on an up and down basis. And when the timing isn't right, as everything was pulled open, so was the pitch going way left, or as Bob Uecker would say, just a bit outside.
Runner in scoring position, and that is just, and I mean just, foul down the third base line.
Welch way off the line, up on his haunches pretty well, and tough to really get a view from there if it did go over the bag. Third base umpire had the best view.
Turns into strike 2 on Yang Dai-gong. We'll see if Deshaun Ruzic work around that wild pitch. Change speeds there and got him.
Boy, Ruzic really got away with one, and Yang knows it. It's a high-hanging, spinning, breaking ball right in the middle of the plate. See his expression going, that was a hit-me slider right in the middle of the plate. That's a home run slider that he wonders, how in the world did I miss that?
2 outs. Lin Zhexuan, a non-roster invitee in Houston Astros spring training camp. Chases the first pitch and falls behind 0-1.
That was another one of those type of sliders there that Lane, like Yang, uncomfortable that he had swung through it. I think oftentimes when you face a pitcher like this, you swing at the delivery first and not so much the pitch until you get really adjusted.
Started this game 2 for 2 with runners in scoring position. They've since gone 0 for their last 3, trying to convert with 2 outs and a runner at second now.
spirit. How about that?
We had it. Ruzic working out of the set with a runner at second, 2 out and a 1-2 count. Ling Jia-Xuan to right, charging is Adamson, and a sliding grab to bail out the Aussies. A runner stranded. It's 3-0 Chinese Taipei. Back in Taiwan, 3-0 Chinese Taipei in front here, and a look ahead to our next game. And boy, what a contest to pitch to. Defending champion Japan and the surprise upstart story of the qualifying round, Brazil. And then we'll be back here for South Korea and the Netherlands in game 2 of our doubleheader from Taichung. Chin-Ming Wong back to work. He's faced the minimum through 4 innings, allowing just the 2 hits. Picked up double plays to end the second and the third.
That's really the first time that Wong has really missed with his release point. That's the loosest pitch that he's thrown all day.
Finds the zone with a strike there. Excuse me, I heard a bark. I thought that was strike 1. It's actually 2-0 the count. Your point, Joe, that's the first 2-0 count to any Australian batter. Finds his zone there with his third offering.
See, that's just not getting back into the strike zone. That's getting back into a pitcher's area of the strike zone, and that is experience right there. Painting down and away.
Hitters count for Stephen Welch, the third baseman. Flying out to right his first time through in the second inning. Sharply down to first, blocked with the body by Peng. Now he finds it and flips to Wong in time.
Well, if you follow the career of Chin-Ming Wong, you know that he's had a history of having difficulty and getting injured when covering first base. They tell you to get in front of it when you're playing at first. Wong was there waiting because the ball was hit so hard. As Peng was waiting to locate it, he's saying, there it is, there it is. And once he found it, taking it right off the front of the shoulder, playing hardball.
It's funny how his major league experience with injuries shades our view of this. I saw the training staff for Chinese Taipei hustle out and down to first base. And really, they were looking at Peng Jung-min, who took the brunt of that shot down to first. But like you, I thought, well, I wonder if they might make sure that Wong is okay as well.
Well, the hardest hit ball all day off Chin-Ming Wong, and it is perfectly blocked by Peng over at first base, and to turn what could have been a double into an out.
Confidently, not only because of the 3-run advantage, but how about the defensive work behind him at shortstop, at first base, in the outfield despite the windy conditions?
Well, they know, I mean, he's the best guy to ever come out of Taiwan. You know, winning 19 games twice, as I mentioned, with the New York Yankees. That's their leader out there on the hill, so the guys are a little extra fired up. A sellout crowd. They're playing, this is a home game for them. And a pitcher that's in control, that's attacking the strike zone early. It is a dream for the defense because they're sharp, no wandering mind, and they know that he's pitching in a way that's going to allow them to put the ball in play.
Got him for the second strikeout. Chin-Ming Wong records the second out of the 5th frame. So we've alluded to the pitch count restrictions a couple of times now. Why don't we spell them out here for the first round of the World Baseball Classic. Working into the top of the 5th inning is Chin-Ming Wong. If you go 30 plus, you're out a day. Have to have a full day's rest before you can pitch again. 4 days rest if you go over the 50 plus pitch mark. Consecutive outings won't be much of an issue here because you have to have an extra day, but that's all built into this pool play round. So really the number we're keeping an eye on is 65 pitches for Chin Ming Wong here in this first round, currently at 48.
And the further you advance in this tournament, the higher that pitch count graduates to.
80 in round 2, 95 in the championship round, which we'll see in San Francisco. A laser to left, and that's in for a hit. Mike Walker aboard his first hit of the tournament with 2 down in the 5th.
But you still like the look of Wong continuing to attack the strike zone, a sinker right in the middle of the plate. And we've already seen him turn a pitch like that into an out, with the leadoff hitter Welch hitting to Tung over at first base, but still taking his chances, and that's why he's at this point in the ball game with 2 outs in the 5th inning with a very good pitch count.
That one skips away from Gao, and down to second base is Walker. So a 2-out hit and an extra base here in scoring position for Brad Harmon.
Pretty good job of keeping it in front, and really this is just dependent on the read. A good secondary shuffle lead and reading the ball right of the catcher. No way to get him at second base.
The Chinese Taipei coaching staff, as Wong is now north of 50 pitches, if they might consider, if they had an early lead, pulling him south of that 50-point threshold, maybe bring him back in a couple of days for a final game of this pool play series. But they said they're going to let him make this start, get as many innings as they can with his 65 bullets.
Boy, now this is a perfect example. If you're left-handed, you're right-handed, and you've got a real good sinker, there's no reason that you should be trying to pick on each one of the corners, because you're relying on movement. It's really about pitching down first in the strike zone, starting out towards the middle of the plate, knowing that more often than not, it's not going to end up there, and he's got him swinging through the sinker.
Harmon caught up to that one. Send it over there in the right field. There it is. Just in time to catch Yang Dai Gong. Chin Ming Wong, 5 scoreless for Chinese Taipei. Chinese Taipei 3, Australia nothing as we go to the home half of the 5th inning. Warwick Saupold, the 23-year-old, takes over on the hill for Deshaun Ruzick and Team Australia. Saupold in the Detroit Tigers organization. Spent his first season with the Lakeland Tigers. 3.13 ERA and 89 innings of work, split between low A and high A.
A sinker slider type pitcher, not very overpowering. You saw those minor league totals, pretty much 90 innings and 90 hits. So I'd like to see him bring that hit total down.
Smash to right, the ball carries in that direction. Adamson back, and that one is out of here. Peng Jung-min goes the opposite way with a leadoff home run.
Well, we said he had 5 batting titles, and picking a pitch and driving it the other way, and to be able to hit the ball with that type of power the other way, it almost looks like a left-handed hitter with a pull swing. Beautiful.
We asked the Chinese Taipei coaching staff to describe their power hitter, their 3-hitter, to us, and they used the word unique. And I think their description was because he hits with power to the opposite field, but for fans of American baseball, Joe, I think you especially were used to seeing batting champions use the opposite field. That didn't stick out as unique in your mind, but that was a unique swing.
Unique to have opposite field power like that and to be a 5-time batting champion.
Australia is yet to retire Peng Jung-min. RBI single in the first, a walk and a score in the third, and that solo shot. Here's Ling Jia-sheng.
Yeah, Peng has advertised and has a beautiful approach at the plate.
This Chinese Taipei team shut out New Zealand twice in qualifying, 10-0 and 9-0. Also picked up a run rule victory over the Philippines. Definitely expecting the competition to increase here in first round play. They've elevated their game as well, still yet to allow a run through qualifying and game one here of this World Baseball Classic.
They really have to feel like they have the 10th man on their side with this incredibly partisan crowd. It is alive.
Ling Jia-sheng will head down to first base. He's aboard for the second time in this contest. I think that leadoff home run by Peng may have had something to do with the subsequent walk to the cleanup hitter.
Sometimes it does scare a pitcher out of the strike zone. That's the one thing you do have to tell yourself, is to get right back into the strike zone. If you're going to be attacking the hitter in the zone, you are going to give up some bombs and just make them solo shots. But the way Chen Ming Wong has been pitching, this 4-run lead looks huge.
Left-handed swinging, Ling Jia-sheng struck out looking in the first. RBI double in the third. Joseph Chi. Action in the Australia bullpen as Warwick Sawpole continues to work here, and Nelly wants a chat.
This is his first World Baseball Classic appearance, and a lot of liveliness, a lot of energy in the crowd, and Kennelly just trying to calm him down a little bit. And I think that opposite field home run where the place just went bananas kind of unnerved him a little bit.
Chinese Taipei put up those 35 runs in qualifying without hitting a home run. Taipei City, the weather was a bit cooler in November. We played a lot of night games, and we've heard the ball does not carry as well here at night, but certainly on this afternoon, despite the overcast and relatively cool conditions, in the right field, it is carrying well. 2-1 to Joseph Chi. He leans into this one. Deep into right center. The wind will get a bit more of that ball on that trajectory, and Adamson over to make the catch.
You know, just to mention earlier, Chris Snelling leaving the game. Adamson, since he has replaced Snelling in right field, who was not very rangy to begin with. Although that's a routine play, he's made a couple of nice sliding catches that you could very easily say that Snelling would have not made. And he's shown some real good range out in right field.
And certainly the catch he made to end the Chinese Taipei half of the fourth inning saved a run. Check the runner at first, and they got him. Ling Jia-sheng was leaning.
Well, I think the situation there, just trying to take advantage of what they thought was a pitcher that was a bit rattled, trying to keep the pressure on him, and he picked the perfect time. And to be honest, that lead, even going back in that direction, that lead was, I mean, he was well off the bat. Just with the lead and taking a secondary lead, he was already in no man's land before that.
Base is clean for Chen Yong-ji. Sawpole delivers. That one's laced into the left center field gap, and it'll get down for extra bases. Chen Yong-ji with a 2-out double, and he's in scoring position for Lin Yichuan.
Well, you never know how many runs you're going to need, and how big of a pickoff that was, with Chen hitting that extra base hit.
There's a changeup that ends up just hanging, and the high changeups tend to be extra base hits. Chinese Taipei's got it going on.
First hit and 3 chips for Chen Yongji. Southpaw is going to get a visit from his manager. Bullpen active. Lefty Bright is going to get the call. So with 2 outs and a runner on in the 5th, Chinese Taipei threatening to add to their 4-0 lead. Back in the bottom of the 5th, Chinese Taipei already with a 4-run advantage and threatening for more. Adam Bright, the new pitcher for Australia.
Numbers rather pedestrian. Trying to take advantage of that left-handed specialist type typical delivery where there's a 3/4 sidearm. Pretty much 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio.
You get a sense of how much Chinese Taipei manager Xie Chong-hun wants this additional run as he will pinch hit here in the 7th spot of his lineup. With the left-hander Lin Yichuen do 0 for 2. And Australia going to their bullpen for a lefty specialist. He counters with Lin Hongyu, who will make his 2013 WBC debut. Chen Yongji is the runner down at second base with a 2-out double. Level at 1-1.
You know, I mentioned earlier that a lot of the Taiwanese hitters are what you would call front foot hitters. They see a lot of breaking balls, so they try to get that front foot down and the hands stay back to where they can just recognize spin early. And in doing that, they do lose some power, but in making up for lost power, increase their ability to make contact on breaking pitches. And of course, because they see so many of them in the Taiwanese Baseball League.
Adam Bright comes set, working with a 1-2 count. This is his 3rd World Baseball Classic. He's going to work out of a jam here. The lefty specialist comes on to do his job. Denning gloves it, and the score remains 4-0 Chinese Taipei after the leadoff home run by Peng. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the World Baseball Classic, Inc. and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. That we go to the 6th inning. Australia chasing 4 and once again facing Chin-Ming Wang, who begins the 6th inning of work at a pitch count of 53. Again, 65 is the ceiling for all pitchers here in this first round of the World Baseball Classic. Corey Adamson trying to lay one down and beats it out.
Boy, and a great idea. I was talking about it earlier about this guy has been in such a groove, and what you have to do is try to take him out of his rhythm, and the easiest way to do that is to get him off the mound. He's been really just dictating the entire game, and that was as far as if you were to roll a ball out there perfectly, that's where it would end up. It could not have been put out there any more perfectly than it was, and Adamson easily beating that out. It's kind of funny that his dad is in the Australian Baseball League Hall of Fame, and at the time of his retirement was the all-time home run king, and his son gets on with a bunt.
No, his son has had a fantastic WC debut here so far. A couple nice plays in right field, coming on as a replacement for Chris Snelling. Gets his first World Baseball Classic hits. So the 9-hitter and the catcher, Matt Kennelly, Grounded into a double play to end the third inning in his only prior trip. I mentioned the pitch count on Wong, and every other player who takes the hill, the only exception to that 65 pitch ceiling is allow the pitcher to finish at bat.
Boy, this has just been laid out perfectly for Chien-Ming Wang, you know, at this point. And the two double plays that he has thrown has done a lot to economize that pitch count, but to think that they'd have their horse on the hill pitching a shutout in the top of the sixth with now facing the number 9 hitter. It's a perfect scenario.
He's faced just one above the minimum. Australian base runner has yet to get to third. Keep an eye on his count as we get up towards that 65 pitch ceiling. Looking out of the stretch here with a 1-2 count on Matt Kennelly. On a hop to third, to second for one, and the third double play turn behind Chien-Ming Wang for Chinese Taipei.
You know, we've talked about the pitch count. We've talked about how you have to be economical about it within the confines of this tournament. Just absolutely forget about that and look how he's thrown today. This is how you're supposed to throw. You're supposed to attack the strike zone early, especially when you have a good sinking fastball. And from a fundamental standpoint, pitch count or not, it's just been a pleasure to watch.
Top of the Australian order now, and James Beresford 0 for 2. Hasn't been a pleasure to watch if you're in the Australian dugout or if your name is Matt Kennelly. He's grounded into 2 double plays, the type of afternoon that makes you wish for a strikeout, right, Joe McGrain?
Well, yeah, I think it's less about the hitters and more about the stuff that he has shown, you know, this afternoon. I've seen a lot of his starts and know his style about as well as any right-hander out there. And other than the velocity being off just a tick when he was wearing the pinstripes in New York, the approach is still exactly the same.
Driven to left. The wind won't help that fly, though, off the bat of Beresford. Chien-Ming Wang done with 6 at 61 pitches. 4-0 Chinese Taipei. Bottom of the 6th inning, 4-0 Chinese Taipei in front of Australia, and just the way the home side would have drawn this one up. A solid outing on the hill from Chien-Ming Wang and plenty of offense in support.
Boy, looking at it from the standpoint, he has definitely been the star. How economical that he has been with his pitching. We talked to Chinese Taipei's manager yesterday, and he said not only with the ability of Chien-Ming Wang, but his leadership and his calmness will go a long way in providing leadership to those younger players, not only the pitchers, but the guys in the field. And it's been a clinic.
Eight, 9-1 due up for their order here in the 6th inning. Gao Zhigong 1 for 2 with a single. Catcher batting out of the 8 hole and leading off here in this frame. Right on the hill, played a small handful of minor league seasons in the Rockies organization in 2005, 2009. Gobbled up at second by Harmon. And a reminder that's still to come. Here is our World Baseball Classic. Coverage continues. We'll send you to Pool A play. Japan and Brazil, the 2-time reigning champs, against the upset-minded Brazil side. That's in Fukuoka. And then we'll be back here for game 2 of our doubleheader. Looking forward to seeing South Korea and the Netherlands take the field for the first time in Taichung. Hitter Guo Yanwen takes in the dirt for ball 1. On top of the order for Chinese Taipei has done all the scoring. The top 3 have accounted for all 4 runs, but the bottom half has produced as well. Get hits out of your 8 and 9 hole to help turn that lineup over. Speaks to the balance that the Chinese Taipei coaching staff preach coming into this event.
I think also from I wouldn't call it a huge lack of concentration from the Australian pitching staff, but when you see that the bottom half of the order, those guys are hitting down there for a reason, and they have their fair share of successes. It also kind of highlights the fact that you're really gearing for those guys at the top of the order. Peng, for example, for Chinese Taipei, who has really had a beautiful day, reaching base all 3 times in his last time up, hitting a home run. But those guys down at the bottom half of the order, the real big hitters, they're going to get their hits. You have to go after, when you're just counting a game of 27 outs, you have to be aggressive at the bottom half of the order.
So you sense perhaps a little bit of exhalation from the Australian arms after they get through the heart of that Chinese Taipei order.
JB, it's just not Team Australia. I mean, it's just something that happens within baseball.
Bright, the 4th arm to take the hill for the Aussies here in Game 1 of Pool B competition. Guo Yanwen back up the middle and through into center field, a 1-out hit.
Kind of another situation that I was referring to. Bright doesn't really finish the breaking ball. It stays up there and hangs, and left-handed hitters against left-handed pitchers tend to become more high ball hitters, which is why he was able to have a good swing at that. And again, his 2nd hit out of the number 9 spot.
I'm sure Team Australia wants Bright to pitch to the leadoff hitter Yang Daigong here, as the catcher Matt Kennelly took a long stroll out to the hill. Brendan Wise continuing to warm up in the Australia pen. And as the catcher heads back behind the dish, here comes the Aussie manager.
Yeah, I think that's what it was more about, is to just have the right-hander face the next couple of right-handers, the teeth really of the Taiwanese team.
Abel, a former national team player himself, an Olympian, minor league manager in the Marlins and Red Sox system back in the States, will take the ball and change pitchers once again. Wise coming in. We'll be back in Taipei. Action resumes in the bottom of the 6th inning. Chinese Taipei with 4 runs on the strength of 9 hits. They have a runner aboard. As they turn the lineup over, Yang Daigong will face the new pitcher, Brendan Wise from Perth, 27 years old, and a first pitch strike.
Talked to their pitching coach, Phil Dale, yesterday, and he says there are a lot of Australian pitchers on their staff that come from, I wouldn't say from down under, that would make a whole lot of sense, too much sense, but more sidearm.
I'm with you. You can go there if you want. Wise, a 8th round pick of the Tigers back in 2005. With the Detroit organization through 2011, spent 2012 on the Twins farm. Chinese Taipei with a run in their first, 2 more in the 3rd, a single in the 5th as well. Build this 4-0 advantage. Their comment was they didn't think any team in this pool, themselves, Australia, South Korea, and the Kingdom of the Netherlands, could or should feel comfortable with their chances of advancing to the 2nd round. But to my eye, they've looked completely relaxed and comfortable playing once again in front of their home crowd.
Well, any time that you have a starting pitcher that's on top of your game, your entire ball club looks good. And we said off the top that this could be the most evenly matched pool of all of them, Pool B here in Taichung. But Chen Ming Wong has been about as surgically precise as you would expect him to be, especially given the pitch count that he's had to live on.
To first, they tagged the base, and now the runner, Guo Yanwen, will be tagged out to end the inning. So nicely done. The double play started by Mike Walker down at first. Chinese Taipei comes up empty in the frame, but they still have a 4-run advantage. We begin the 7th inning. Chin-Ming Wang dominating the Australia side through 6 innings of work. And take a look at the in-game box score for Australia.
Not a lot of hits. Chin-Ming Wang just giving up 4 hits, and he was as surgically precise as you would ask him to be. That sinking fastball was down around the knees, and the Aussies could not do much with it at all. And as far as thinking that you could have, based on the pitch count, have Wang go out there and pitch 6 solid innings. Absolutely what they were looking for.
And if we are to see Chin-Ming Wang again in this 2013 World Baseball Classic, it'll be in the next round at the Tokyo Dome. He has given way to Yang Yao-Shwing, 30-year-old, making his 2nd World Baseball Classic appearance. Also worked back in 2006.
Now batting second, number 17, Mitch Denning.
You know, things get doubly tough for the Aussies, and you know, one thing that John Diebel made us all too aware of, and just looking at their roster, it is a left-handed, heavily left-handed lineup. And after the great pitching performance from Wang, you bring a left-hander in, and being down 4-0, this really must seem like an uphill battle for what John Diebel said is a very tight and real scrappy type team. They've got some work to do.
Mitch Denning, bit off pace with that 0-1 offering, and you can see a lot more velo out of the arm of Yang Yao-Shwing than we saw from the softer throwing Chin-Ming Wang.
Not only is it left-handed, which is a completely different look, but it's got a little hop, a little bit of ride on the fastball, which is different from the late sinking action that Chin-Ming Wang had.
Really nice pitching tandem to help get them through this game 1 of Pool B competition. Close shave there on Mitch Denning.
Well, you already have a little bit of a bail move against a left-handed pitcher, especially when he's rushing it up there, and it's too early to say that he doesn't have a pretty good idea where it's going, but much to the entertainment of the locals, the old brushback pitch.
He going down and away here.
If he's got a good feel for the baseball.
You saw the sign. We all see the catcher. We're all on the same page. Try to dot that outside corner.
Pretty good pitch and in a real good spot.
Do it again at 2-2. Yang Yao-Shwing has a younger brother, Yang De-Kong, an outfielder on the roster and in the lineup.
He pitched for the SoftBank Hawks in the Taiwanese Baseball League. Which is a league that has some interesting sounding team names.
They might have an interesting addition coming their way as well, as reports here locally, I'm sure globally, have Manny Ramirez set to join the Asian baseball frontier.
Now, if Manny could not operate on 12-hour time, how can he operate on 24-hour time? That gives him 12 more opportunities to be late.
And the wind blowing hard in from left field, and what looked like a fly ball to left becomes put out for a Linger Shum, the shortstop, in shallow left.
And JB, you had mentioned earlier that the wind has been galing in from center to left, and pretty good example of it. That's a play that the left fielder has in his back pocket, but it just blew that back towards the infield. And you know, sometimes those plays are not routine.
Took Yang Yao Schwing 7 pitches to get Mitch Denning his first out. No knock on him, but just to put that in context, Chien-Ming Wang didn't throw more than 6 pitches to any batter he faced in 6 complete.
Poor Luke Hughes coming to the plate has had 2 plays over at first base that look like they have gone against him. He could be 2 for 2, but right now he is staring at an 0 for.
Thought he had beat out a ground ball to shortstop back in his first at bat in the first inning, and then sent a ground ball that direction to first base in the 4th, and once again was retired. Taipei will be right back in action here on Sunday at 2:30. That's tomorrow locally in Taiwan. Australia has the day off. They will face Korea in their next game on Monday night. He of home run in his first major league at bat fame for Minnesota back in 2010. Has to move his shoelaces there. 2-2 the count.
Well, you can tell definitely that Yang definitely has that good life exploding fastball, but just trying to harness it a little bit. Classic pause over the pitching rubber. And some action on that one. Wow.
His first strikeout, second out of the inning. Yang swing on to relief from Chien-Ming Wang and continuing the thread for Chinese Taipei.
Was that a little split or something? Because that the bottom absolutely dropped out of that one. And I'm telling you, if it's tough to catch, it's got to be tough to hit. I mean, it just looks like a 2-seam fastball that just explodes when it's down in the strike zone. Give me one of those. I'm making a comeback.
I'll use this opportunity to talk a little bit about the baseball they're using here in the World Baseball Classic. We were told that it wouldn't be any issue for Chien-Ming Wang, more than familiar with the tight, slick hardness of a Major League Baseball. But how about for someone like Yang Yao Schwing?
Yeah, I think it's something that you definitely need to mention. When you look at the quality of that last pitch, it's definitely not a problem. But there has been complaints from the Asian teams that they think the pitchers think the ball is a little more slick. It's a little more loose with its tolerance, that the seams are a little. It's pretty much a big league baseball.
Driven to right field. Yang Dae-gung looking up, and the Aussies are on the board. Stephen Welch, a solo home run, his first hit of the game and the first run that Chinese Taipei has allowed, and that includes November qualifying.
Well, one of the things we talked about right off the top about the scrappiness of the Aussies, and that's unusual because down and in to a left-handed hitter from a left-handed pitcher oftentimes is not really what you would call their nitro zone. It's coming from a righty, yes, but from a lefty, no. And with the Aussies being on the board and the wind blowing in, we said right field is probably the sweetest part of the ballpark.
Big shot by Luke Hughes, and we'll see what kind of injection that gives this Aussie lineup. Welch right behind him with that home run, and I think Chinese Taipei will now have to see how they react to just giving up a run. They breezed through qualifying in November at 35-0. Jumped out to a 4-0 advantage here before Welch hit that shot.
Well, their plan has been very good today, talking about Chinese Taipei. It's like in boxing, everyone's got a plan until they get hit in the mouth for the first time. And the best thing that has happened for the Aussies is getting Chien-Ming Wang off the hill, because it's got double barrel action in the bullpen for Taiwan. And 3 runs when their best pitcher is now out of the game is not insurmountable for a team that John Diebel says is really greater than the sum of their parts. A real tight, well-oiled team.
Huber waits the 1-2. And Yao Young Schwing recovers to end the inning, but not before Australia gets on the board. A solo shot off the bat of Stephen Welch, 4-1. Chinese Taipei has a hit in every frame as they come to bat in the 7th. And as we take a look at their in-game box score, a lot to like, Joe McGrain.
A lot to like, and look at the production down at the bottom half of the order. That turns the lineup over and gets the guys who can really hit at the top.
And we're going to have to update that in-game box score because first pitch swinging, Lin Zheshuen, a double into the gap.
Yeah, I was talking about the bottom half of the order being very productive, and it's led to the top half that has been able to do exactly the same. Watch this ball sinking towards the middle of the plate and just a chop right down on it to create perfect backspin and great carry into the wind. And originally having ideas at a triple, pulling up short at second base, and wisely so.
Double-digit hits now for Chinese Taipei, looking to get that run back. They allowed off a solo shot in the top half of the 7th inning. Good man to do it at the plate, the 3-hitter Peng Jung-min. He flashed back to his home run that led off the 5th inning.
Talking about the opposite field power, up and out over the plate, and you could see on that previous pitch that he fouled off. He's looking to do exactly the same thing. He is just geared towards the other way, and I think you've got to pound this guy on the inside part of the plate, and he'll jackknife out of the way. But you have to be very precise because he has that opposite field swing. And I mentioned the 5 batting titles that he does have in the Taiwanese Baseball League. Plays for the Brother Elephants, which sounds like a warm-up band for the Weather Girls, but it is a team that he's enjoyed a great deal of success with.
I'd love to see an instant poll of our global audience to know how many caught that reference.
That is the pitch right there that you need to make. You see that he does not like it on the inside part of the plate. Just beautifully located.
Wise on the hill for his second frame of work. This time they're going away.
Yeah, so much of that set up by that sinker on the inside part of the plate. I'm telling you, that is where you have to go to get him. It changed his swing, and then it allowed him to spin off the ball, and the ball's not that far outside. It's just a nice little get-me-over breaking ball middle away, and he swings through it.
Now Lin Zheshuen out in the 1st, an RBI double in the 3rd, walked in the 5th inning. Zheshuen down at second base, and 1 away. An aggressive Chinese Taipei lineup. They like to hack first pitch.
Yeah, Lin hit the double in the 3rd inning on a swing just like that, looking to do some damage. Took his shot and was on a breaking ball, the same type of breaking ball that struck out Peng. And I think for the Aussies, a little old-fashioned hold'em here could really change the momentum a little bit, because Wong is out of the game, Chen Ming Wong, and they feel like they've gotten a little bit of momentum getting back on the board. Even though they are running out of outs, you can't allow another tack-on run. That is what kills you at this point of the ball game.
Talked so much about the pop in Peng Jung-min's bat. Don't forget about Lin Zheshuen hitting behind him in the cleanup role. Fastest in CPBL history to 150 home runs. Reigning MVP of the 2012 Taiwan series as well.
Well, you can see with that approach, I mean, he is loaded for bear and getting behind him. He does not have, that typical that typical approach where he gets out on that front foot and just tries to slap it somewhere.
This ball one go by. It's 77 miles per hour. Standing room only. Intercontinental Baseball Stadium holds about 19,000. Opened in November of 2006. The Sanan Bulls in the CPBL. A lot of these homegrown talents for Chinese Taipei. Very comfortable in this setting. Danger Shung has worked out of an 0-2 hole to level the count at 2.
Boy, the enthusiasm with this crowd, it is continued from the first pitch to right now.
And it runs all the way out on Danger Shung.
That's what's been fun about this being our first game, being able to see not only a very crisp and well-pitched game by Taiwan's own Chen-Ning Wang, who really looked in mid-season form. Just the enthusiasm here. Great start to the World Baseball Classic.
It really has been heavily anticipated by this community, from the airport, the drive down all around the city, every local TV station that you view, promotions and signage everywhere, looking ahead to this World Baseball Classic that's finally arrived.
See how far it's grown, and it's just really encouraging.
Another 3-2 to shortstop Beresford. 2 down. Chinese Taipei now 0 for their last 7 with runners in scoring position. Add to a 3-run advantage and back to the hill. Manager John Diebel for Australia, looking towards his bullpen with a couple of options. And as he takes the ball, we'll take a break. Runner in scoring position, 2 outs in the 7th. Ryan Rowland-Smith is the 6th pitcher for Team Australia. 30 years old, 6'3", 240 pounds.
JB, look at the back of that uniform. I don't think Vanna White has turned over that many letters on the Wheel of Fortune. There is no more room on that jersey for my favorite hyphenated left-handed pitcher, once with the Seattle Mariners.
Last pitch in the bigs there in 2010. 4 American League seasons under his belt, an ERA of 4.57.
Again, as I mentioned earlier before we went to break, so important for a hold'em here for the Aussies, as they're really left with 6 outs left to play offensively. Cannot afford another tack-on run to be scored.
Smith had an interesting comment to local media, saying that you get more respect in Australia by playing for your country, as he is here and has throughout his past, than you do playing 10 years in the major league.
I think that's very well said, and as far as just how things are laid out in Major League Baseball, it's a very difficult time for Major League pitchers to really be in mid-season form.
He looks it there as he comes on to get his man. Joe Sachi goes down swinging. Ryan Rowland-Smith helps hang a 0. Back in Taichung, our next game will be from Japan. Brazil certainly had the upset mind in the qualifying. We'll see if they can take it to Fukuoka as well, as they face the 2-time defending World Baseball Classic champions. And then the second half of our doubleheader coming up as well. Our first look at South Korea and the Netherlands. Check your local listings. New pitcher for Chinese Taipei, Guo Hung-jer, or as he's known to American baseball fans, Hung Chi-kuo. fourth ever Taiwanese major leaguer when he debuted with the Dodgers in 2005. Mike Walker, Brad Harmon, Corey Adamson. 6, 7, 8 due up in the Australia lineup.
Yeah, I mentioned that the Aussies really have to get busy here with just 6 outs left to play with and having a lot of regular left-handed hitters in their lineup and a couple of pretty good left-handed pitchers that Chinese Taipei has been able to throw at them after just a sterling starting pitching performance out of Chen-Ming Wang. Maybe thinking about trying to find a way to get that leadoff hitter on and put a little bit of pressure on the guy on the hill.
Guo is currently a free agent. What an asset he brings to the Chinese Taipei bullpen and the staff as a whole, along with Chen-Ming Wang, since we saw them in New Taipei City in November qualifying to go out and get 2 major league experienced arms.
Well, it goes to show you the commitment, the seriousness, and how the World Baseball Classic has continued to grow, evolve, and really become something of national pride and importance.
The only active Taiwanese major league pitcher, Wei-Yin Chen of Baltimore, passed on this event in order to maximize time with his newborn son while preparing for his upcoming season. 3-2 to Walker. Got him looking. It called strike 3.
Well, let's take a look at that. You look from top to bottom, and it is all good. And here's something that's important. You look at all of the pitches that he threw. I'm talking about 6 innings and only 61, only 2 strikeouts, no walks. You do not have to strike guys out to be effective. A lot of ground ball outs. He was exactly as you would expect him to be back in his heyday with the Yankees when he was a 2-time 19-game winner. A beautiful performance.
He's giving it to Yang Yao Shuang out of the bullpen, and now Hung Chi Kuo, and together they've combined to strike out 3 of the 5 Aussie hitters they've faced to this point. Mentioned Wei-Yin Chen is not here, but he did make a sizable scholarship donation to Taiwanese baseball that I think deserves mention, and for his upcoming season as well with the Orioles, going to donate $1,000 Taiwanese dollars for each inning he pitches and 500 in local currency for each strikeout. So 34 US dollars for each inning that he pitches, about 17 for each strikeout he records, all going to foster baseball in this country.
A great gesture, and a guy with a lot of talent. Pitched beautifully for the Orioles last year, and he has a real good feel for pitching, knows what he's doing. Great movement on his pitches.
Would you believe me, Joe, if I told you I just did those currency exchange rates in my head based on what I saw in the paper in the hotel?
Yeah, I really would believe you. I'm just going to let my wife do it when I get back home.
Would you use your receipts?
I just have to endure the wrath.
3-1 pitch, skied to shallow center. The second baseman, Guo Yan Wen, who winds up with it after it's blown all the way towards the right half portion of the field.
You know, that has been what we've seen so far, JB, as this ballpark with the wind galing in. But the 2 home runs, one by the Aussies and one by Chinese Taipei, been right down the right field line. Other than that, every ball in the air for the most part has just gone up and died.
2 outs here in the top of the 8th. Tim Cannelli will get his first WBC action in 2013. Brother with the catcher Matt Cannelli, who is batting 9th, will be next if he can keep the inning alive.
And you know, JB, this afternoon I think it's been less about how the Aussies have played and more about how Chen-Ming Wong has pitched. And you know, you can look at the best hitters in Major League Baseball. They make their living off the third, fourth, and fifth start. And Chen-Ming Wong, #1 starter for Chinese Taipei, pitched exactly like that. And you know, even the toughest hitters are going to say you're going to take your lumps with those 1s and 2s and the closers, and you're going to make your living off the rest of that pitching staff. And I don't think we've really gotten the greatest of indication as to how good this Australia team is based on how great the Chen-Ming Wong has been.
That's a good point. If Chinese Taipei can close out this victory, they would certainly put themselves in a very favorable position to finish in the top 2 in this pool and advance to Japan in the next round. How about on the other side of it? Australia falls 2-0-1 here. They'll have the day off before coming back against South Korea on Monday, and that becomes a virtual must-win. I mean, you can almost go for broke, and why not when you start 0-1 in this pool play?
Well, and yeah, they would, as you would say, be facing the team that is favored to be the strongest here in this pool.
We asked Chinese Taipei if they might fiddle with their strategy based on the way the IBAF rankings currently sit. Their last game will be the last game of this pool play, will be against South Korea on Tuesday night. Would they hold something back to try and win that game and make a statement, or do they want to put their eggs into these first couple of games and maybe go 2-0? A dazzling play made at shortstop by Ling Jung-Shi. Finding the wind, looking over his shoulder, and he contributes to a 1-2-3 inning for Hung Chi Kuo. Round of applause. Kennelly stays in the game to play right field for Team Australia as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Also a new pitcher on for the Aussies. Andrew Russell takes the hill. He becomes the 7th Australian arm, as right now manager John Diebel is just in keep everybody eligible mode as they look ahead to managing the weekend. Trailing 4-0 in this one. Again, first pitch swinging is Chinese Taipei and Chen Yongji. Quick out #1. And Joe, it also gives all of your bullpen arsenals a chance to get on the hill, get a sense for this mound. They did play a few exhibition games here, but of course,
well, the gravity is obviously a lot different. The competition feels different. You've got the stadium full of people. It's a great experience, and also to just get your sea legs and get your feet wet a little bit. And back in the States, we would say Russell would come from Laredo, but since he comes from down under, I'm thinking it's somewhere around Fiji or Tahiti. Not completely an underarm delivery, but pretty much way down south.
Also mentioned that the starter Chris Oxspring was pulled before he hit his 50-pitch count, so that means that he too, after a day's rest built into the schedule, will be able to come back and be eligible. And so, about what Australia's going to have to do, winning their final 2 games to have hopes of advancing to the next round. The more arms, the better.
Yeah, he did not pitch that poorly. He just had kind of a 2 or 3 hitter stretch where the game got away from him a little bit. And when you have a guy on the other side like Chen-Ming Wong pitching the way that he has not allowed a lot of wiggle room. And when you're going up against a starter that has it going on, you know that there he is right there, that you have to be very precise. And you're not going to be allowed that big inning, or that any one pitch could really take you out of the ball game.
Just off the edge. Ling Hong-yu will head down to first base, and that breaks a streak of 4 consecutive Chinese Taipei batters retired by the Aussie Army. goes to their bench and will use a pinch runner here. Chung Wei takes over down at first base with 1 out. Here in the bottom of the 8th. Catcher Gao Zhigong hitting for the third, I think that the 4th time this afternoon. Finds his own with strike 1.
Well, I got to tell you, JB, a normal sellout Major League Baseball crowd has its own set of rhythm and crescendos to it, but this has just been from the first inning to this point. It has, the accelerator has been on. It has been constant, passionate group of fans that has to be very happy the way things are going right now.
You're enjoying these sounds and signs, sights and sounds as much as we are here at the Continental Baseball Stadium.
I don't know what happened. It's supposed to be the Taiwanese summer down here, and everyone's all bundled up in coats. And
I was told on the field yesterday that the members of the Major League grounds crew have been over here for about a month, making sure that this field is primed and ready for play, and they had not had a drop of rain as of yesterday afternoon their entire month here until last night, right about dinner time. Showers that continued into this morning, and the overcast skies have remained. Uninterrupted baseball so far here in the first game of Pool B. You'll be able to break the sunglasses out before we're done. Trust me.
absolutely, and I'm looking forward to it. These fans have been treated to a beauty for the home team.
Debut. Gao Zhigong seeing the runner off with the pitch. Almost had to slide his heels out of the batter's box to make contact there, but hit and run in order, and the runner down to second base with 2 outs.
And I think if you're Chinese Taipei, you're thinking about a tack-on run here at this point. Beautiful job of staying inside the ball. That's not an easy pitch to try to hit to the right side of the field. Trying to do a little first and third and thinking one more run might be the icing on the cake.
Brad Harmon, the Australian second baseman, was on his way to cover with the runner moving and threw on the brakes to field that ground ball and get out number 2.
You're thinking about 3 runs, and it's not insurmountable, so Chinese Taipei still managing this, trying to grind out another big run, and in scoring position with 2 out.
Yeah, Joe, if you're looking to nitpick, if you're trying to find a weakness in the Chinese Taipei performance today, you point to the fact that they're 2 of 10 with runners in scoring position, left the runner stranded at the 7th, the 6th, 5th, and even the 4th going back that far.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but also given the score and given the starting pitching performance, it's easy to overlook that.
Jung Wei is down at second base with 2 outs. Over as a pinch runner after Min Hung Yu walked. Yen Wen awaits the 0-2. Shortstop Beresford. And And that'll do it in the Chinese Taipei 8th. They strand another runner, but they've got a 3-run lead with 3 outs to get. Top of the 9th inning in Taiwan. Australia chasing 3, down 4-1 against Chinese Taipei. And Chen Hongwen takes over on the hill, looking to close this one out.
Boy, great strikeout to walk ratio, 20-3 in 22 innings of work. And pausing over the rubber, much in the same way that Chen Ming Wong does.
Hongwen has regained his mid-90s form after he spent 5 years in the Cubs minor league system. Went through a crisis of confidence, really, and considered giving up baseball altogether, going into business. But the national team convinced him otherwise, and I think now he's glad they did. Dots the outside corner with strike 2.
Well, you're rushing it up there like that into the 90s, over the top. He's pausing over the rubber with his hands over behind his head, much in the same way that the starter did. And then all of a sudden, not only boom with velocity, but perfect, and I mean perfect location.
Change speeds there, and on 3 pitches, he strikes out Matt Kennelly.
Matt Kennelly just has to give a tip of the hat right there, because that was 3 perfect pitches. 2 fastballs that dotted the eye and crossed the tee, and a breaking ball knee high in absolutely a perfect spot. No chance. Borderline unfair, actually.
Chen was pretty impressive when we saw him in New Taipei City in the qualifier in November. Worked an inning and a third in his only appearance and struck out 3 of the 4 batters he faced. Yet to miss the zone here.
Boy, he's got it going on. He is sniffing the finish line.
Shortstop James Beresford has played well defensively, perhaps looking for a positive spin to this one individually as he looks ahead to Australia's next matchup, 0-3 currently. Deep in his 14th year as Australia's national team manager. Hoping for a late rally tonight. Dives into the dirt, and Beresford able to lay off.
And you know, John Diebel really gave us a great description about all the things that his club does and does well. They've caught the ball. They've defensively, they've played very well. They've had relatively decent starting pitching, but they just completely ran into a buzzsaw in Chen Ming Wong.
I think the day off will help them regroup. I think they'd like to be right back at it tomorrow.
I think you just give congratulations in the way of the starting pitching, and realize that you just got beat. It wasn't from a lack of effort. You just got beat. I didn't necessarily answer your question. I just don't think it matters.
Nor should you. Feel free to just, rush me aside.
That's not what I was trying to do.
No, I'm just here to say hello and good night. But, in terms of minor victories, they mentioned they only wanted to give 27 outs, And they've played sound fundamental defensively. Maybe didn't get the efforts they wanted from their arms on the hill necessarily, but defensively speaking, 8 innings of clean baseball, something to build off of.
Well, at this point, if they're starting pitching or if they're pitching altogether would have just given up 1 run, they'd only be tied. I mean, that's how well the starter and how economical Chen Ming Wong was.
Bit of a hiccup here for Chen Hongwen after getting 2 quick outs. He's fallen behind 2-0 to Mitch Denning, 0-3 on the afternoon. Giving him the take sign here.
I don't think it matters. He's going to throw the ball over the plate. We're going to be doing a little celebrating here.
2-0 pitch.
That's the star of the show so far.
Six scoreless innings, scattering 4 hits, picked up 2 strikeouts. On their feet in Taichung. And the count level at 2-2. Chen Hongwen brings the 2-2 and runs all the way out. Crowd sensing victory. Mitch Denning at the plate trying to keep this one alive for the Australians. Payoff pitch. Down to first. Hong Jung-min had a home run, and he gloves the final out. Chinese Taipei beats Australia 4-1 as we begin the 2013 WBC.
Absolutely everything that Chinese Taipei wanted out of Chen Ming Wong. Weren't really expecting what we were going to get velocity-wise, but his location was beautiful. The sink, the late action, the economical pitching performance to take it all the way and give them 6 scoreless innings. A pretty good start and a lot to smile about if you're the manager of Chinese Taipei.
Second all-time win in the WBC for them. First since a 12-3 victory over China back in 06. They'll be back on the field tomorrow at 2:30 to face the Netherlands. Meanwhile, Australia falling to 0-1 in Pool B. They're back in action Monday night. Must-win game now against South Korea. Our final score here on the strength of 10 hits. 4-1 Chinese Taipei. Chen Ming Wong pitches 6 scoreless innings to pick up the victory. And stay tuned right here on all these same outlets. We'll have Game 2 from Tokyo. Two-time defending champions Japan face a very upset-minded Brazil team that took the qualifying round by storm. And then we'll be back for Game 2 of our doubleheader from Taichung. South Korea takes the field against the Netherlands. My partner Joe Grain, our producer Mike Sparks. I'm JB Long. Thank you for joining us to throw out the first pitch on this 2013 World Baseball Classic. Chen Ming Wong returns to Taiwan, leads his team to a 4-1 victory. We'll send you to Japan next and bring you Game 2 of our doubleheader a little bit later on.